With a percussion instrument, everybody understands. You lift your hand up, you have a stick in it. At a certain point, it comes to the top of the arc, and then it comes down and it hits the instrument. And that mechanical process is completely clear and straightforward. So when you hear a rhythm, you identify with a sound. You see the mechanics of sound production. You put all of those things together. You have, I think, a musical object which feels like it's easily within the grasp of the listener. In fact, I am older than the oldest piece in the solo percussion repertoire. Why wasn't there solo percussion music? I mean, it's an interesting and a sort of complex question. In the European tradition, percussion was always this thing that needed to have other instruments in order to make a mark against them. Solo percussion music really arose in the 1950s and 60s as a companion to social issues that were very much at the forefront in those days. The grand forces, whether they be political, historical, or even musical, were so tyrannical that a composer could be forgiven for wanting to branch out and do something really quite intimate, quite individual. So for me, percussion solo music is inextricably bound with the idea of giving people who had not had a voice. The instruments that I'll play are, in some cases, just pure pieces of junk. Pieces of pipe, frying pans, brake drums from cars. They're not the sound makers of the aristocracy. I mean, there's not a Guarneri brake drum or a Stradivarius frying pan or anything like that. I want a sound that is stripped as much as possible from its cultural origins. There's nothing like the English horn or the viola or anything on stage, where you just need, 5 years of practice even to make the most basic sound. Literally anyone could come on stage and make a pretty good vibraphone sound, pretty good snare drum sound, bass drum. I suspect when people listen to percussion music that they immediately sense that this is music that is much closer to their experience, much closer to their own physicality as human beings than almost any other kind of concert music could be. Every piece has its own weather system, a set of rules by which it kind of governs itself. I mean, they're really living organisms. Many of the pieces I will play are for freely chosen instrumentation. Now, when you have that kind of level of intervention on the part of the performer, then sometimes notational schemes have to be invented that will reflect a kind of new equation, a new relationship with the composer. Music, among its many, many functions, it has the requirement of being strange because people have strange thoughts and they have private sides and they have a dark interior sometime. And if music can't activate all of those things, then it's failing in its functions. Because what we're trying to do is really touch people through the most ephemeral mechanism you can imagine, and that's sound. This thing which sounds and then it's done is the only tool we've got. And I'm hoping that those noises I'll make for 2 hours will mean something to somebody, and I think that they will.